The story begins with a happily married couple, Yan Weilun and his wife Su Fei. However, things take an unexpected turn one morning when Su Fei discovers a used bra in Yan's bag. The day starts with Yan making breakfast for the family. Their daughter Yorin is very close to her dad and prefers his handmade breakfast over her mom's. After breakfast, Su Fei looks into Yan's bag and discovers a couple of bras inside. She notices that one of the bras is unpacked. Soon after, Yan enters the room and explains that the bras are part of his company's new health project. He brought some samples home because the bras are extremely comfortable. However, Su Fei points out that the bra are too small for her size. Yan then promises to bring her larger ones soon. As they get ready for work, Su Fei teases Yan, suggesting that he must meet many beautiful women in his line of work. Yan admits that it's true, but reassures her that he's not interested in any of them since he's already taken. Su Fei then jokingly warns him that if she ever found out he was cheating, he would be dead meat. Later, Su Fei heads to work. On the way, a child suddenly runs into the street, and she narrowly avoids hitting them. The child's mother argues with Su Fei and tries to blame her when Yan happens to pass by and intervenes. The child seems to recognize Yan and almost calls him uncle, but the mother quickly covers the child's mouth and leaves without further argument. Later that day, Su Fei, who is a manager at Feisheng Sports Technology Company, receives a driver recommendation from Mr. Ding, the vice president of their investor company, Sinyuan. To her surprise, the recommended driver is the same woman, An Ning, whose son, An Kang, had nearly run in front of Su's car earlier that morning. An Ning had majored in sports in college but dropped out to give birth to An Kang. Su Fei also discovers that An Ning is temporarily staying at a friend's place in the apartment directly below hers. Although she is suspicious that An Ning might be having an affair with Yan, Su Fei still accepts An Ning as a driver for the company. Later, Yan picks up Su Fei from work to take her to lunch. After getting in the car, Su Fei notices a strange perfume scent. Knowing that Yan doesn't wear that perfume, she asks him about it. Yan casually replies that he gave a ride to a female colleague who wears that fragrance. During lunch, Yan and Su Fei admire the beauty of some nearby women. Su Fei then asks Yan if he has ever cheated on her. Yan responds by saying that no man is always 100% loyal to his wife, and that men might make mistakes after getting drunk. However, Yan insists that he only looks at other women with his eyes, not with his heart. Yan then turns the question back to Su Fei, asking if she has ever been unfaithful. Su Fei replies that she's too busy with work and that her colleagues are more interested in animated girls than in her. After this exchange, Su Fei heads to the restroom for a moment. Upon returning, she secretly overhears Yan talking to someone on the phone, calling her baby and telling her not to cheat on him. Following this, Yan tells Su Fei that he will be heading to Nanjiang for a business trip over the weekend. However, Su Fei asks him who he just called baby on the phone. Yan shows Su Fei his call history, revealing that he had just spoken with a colleague, Ms. Bao, from the investment department, who is much older than him. Despite this, Su Fei remains suspicious, but Yan tries to divert the conversation by commenting that she's talking more than usual during the meal. As night falls, the family returns home and Yuran excitedly announces that she has been shortlisted for a speech contest in Nan'an. However, she realizes she left her tablet in the car, which she needs to revise her speech. Su Fei goes back to the car to retrieve it, but discovers a broken piece of a toy in the back seat. She recalls seeing the toy attached to An Kang's bag earlier that day. When Su Fei returns home, Yan goes down to take out the trash. Suspecting her husband might be meeting An Ning, Su Fei decides to investigate and heads to An Ning's apartment. However, An Kang opens the door, saying that his mom went out to get some food. Su Fei, giving some snacks to An Kang, secretly matches the broken piece of the toy with the one attached to An Kang's bag and takes the remaining part. Soon after, An Ning arrives and is surprised to see Su Fei there. Su Fei explains that she came to check on An Kang's health after the earlier incident. She then asks An Ning to work overtime the next day, but An Ning replies that she has plans to go out with An Kang over the weekend. This deepens Su Fei's suspicion that Yan might be having an affair with An Ning, especially since he mentioned going on a work trip the next day. To make matters worse, Su Fei attaches the broken toy piece she took to the remaining part of the toy, confirming that it is indeed the same one. The following day, before Yan leaves for Nanjiang, Su Fei tries once again to ask him if he's hiding something, but Yan doesn't reveal anything. Su Fei then decides to follow Yan's car in a taxi to a nearby market. However, she loses sight of him when he leaves his car after parking it. At the same time, Su Fei notices An Ning heading to a supermarket and decides to follow her. While An Ning is shopping, she gets into an argument with a man over a leftover piece of pork meat. An Kang cleverly distracts the man, allowing An Ning to forcefully take the pork and flee. However, she soon realizes that An Kang has disappeared. Su Fei observes An Ning searching anxiously for her son. Meanwhile, a masked man grabs An Kang and holds a knife to his throat, and Ning eventually finds them. But the man escapes without taking An Kang. Su Fei tries to stop the man but is pushed away, and Ning hands An Kang over to Su Fei and tries to chase the man, who escapes in a car. And Ning thanks Su Fei for her help. It is then revealed that Su Fei showed An Kang his toy and asked him to identify Yan. An Kang explained that he and his mom had once gotten into a car with Yan, who was accompanied by a beautiful woman. In a flashback, the woman, named Dingman Man, tells An Ning that she is Yan's girlfriend and that Yan is divorced. Su Fei then asks An Ning if she knows Yan. An Ning replies that she thought Yan was divorced. When Su Fei presses for more information on who told her that, An Ning avoids answering and walks away. Meanwhile, Yan is with Man and expresses his concern about his wife discovering the truth. Man reveals that she was the one who put her bra in Yan's bag as a souvenir. Yan, however, reminds her of their agreement that she would not interfere with his personal life. The two then become intimate. As Yan returns to his car, he finds Su Fei waiting outside for him. Su Fei asks why he isn't on his way to Nanjiang. Yan lies, saying he came to buy a souvenir from the nearby art museum for a client, but he received an emergency call for a meeting at his office and needs to cancel his trip. Su Fei remains unconvinced and refuses to ride back home with Yan. She later discovers that the art gallery is run by Ding Man, the daughter of Mr. Ding. Su Fei calls Mr. Ding and pretends to be interested in buying some artwork to obtain Man's WeChat number. Once she has the WeChat number, Su Fei notices that Man is wearing the same bra in her profile picture as the one she found earlier in Yan's bag. Su Fei then receives a call from a bank representative who informs her that she has only 50,000 yuan left in her account after withdrawing 3 million yuan 2 weeks ago. Su Fei doesn't recall making such a transaction. She heads to Yan's office and interrupts an important meeting to confront him privately. She accuses Yan of giving her money to another woman. Yan explains that he actually invested the money in a real estate project that would double their money in a few weeks. He had discussed the investment with Su Fei before, but she had declined. Su Fei then asks Yan why he invested in such a risky project without her permission and forged her signature. After that, Su Fei asks Yan about his relationship with Man. Yan is surprised and wonders how Su Fei knows Man. Su Fei then explains that Mr. Ding, who is Man's father, is an investor in her company. Following this, Su Fei asks her husband to show her his chats. However, before showing the chats, Yan calls Man and tells her that his wife wants to meet her to buy some art. Although Man says on the call that if Yan brings his wife to her, she will reveal the whole truth, Yan continues to speak professionally in front of his wife. Then, he tells Su Fei that he will arrange for her to meet Man so all her doubts can be cleared. At night, Yan feels a bit anxious. He changes the name under which he saved Man's number to Ms. Ding and tells Man to help him out this one time, promising to make it up to her later. Meanwhile, Su Fei is at a club, drinking because she is upset. In the same club, Man is drinking and partying with her friends. A little later, An Ning arrives and thanks her friend Man for helping her get a job. However, she mentions that she will soon move out of Man's apartment, and Ning confronts Man about why she lied earlier, saying Yan was divorced. She tells Man to stay away from Yan, warning that getting involved in this situation could cause problems for herself. After this, An Ning drinks a full glass of alcohol and takes the drunk Man back to her home. While lying on the bed, in her drunken state, Man slips up and says that An Ning's ex-husband is still sincere towards her. Afterward, An Ning heads back home, but on the way, a man on a motorbike starts following her. Becoming cautious, An Ning ambushes the man in an alley, only to discover that he is Su Luo, An Kang's teacher. Meanwhile, Su Fei comes home drunk. At home, she asks Yan if he would forgive her if she ever cheated on him. Yan replies that if Su Fei ever felt the need to cheat, it would mean he must have done something wrong, and he would forgive her. After this, Su Luo drops An Ning off at her home. It becomes clear that Su Luo likes An Ning. Coincidentally, Su Luo's sister, Su Fei, also lives in the same building, so Su Luo goes to visit her. A little later, they hear An Kang shouting, so they both rush to An Kang's apartment. There, they find out that An Ning, due to being drunk, has locked herself in the bathroom and passed out. Su Luo immediately breaks down the bathroom door and helps wake An Ning up. When An Ning wakes up, she is surprised and apologizes to Su Luo and his sister. However, before Su Fei leaves, An Ning stops her and tells her the whole truth about Yan's affair. The next morning, Su-fei goes to the art museum with Yan to meet Man-Man, pretending they're there to buy a painting. Man-Man welcomes them and offers coffee, but Su-fei says she can't drink it. While talking to Man-Man, Su-fei makes some mocking remarks, trying to show that Yan talks to her about every girl. She also tells Yan in front of Man-Man that she will take a few days off to go with him to Nanan. When Man-Man returns to her office, Yan asks Su-fei why she refused the coffee and if she is pregnant. Su-fei says she is not pregnant and also reveals she can't actually go on vacation. She just said that to make Man-Man jealous. Yan notices a mark on Su-fei's neck that looks like a hickey, but Su-fei explains it happened because of a small accident. Later, An-ning comes to see Man-Man and pays rent to stay in her apartment. Although Man-Man doesn't want to take the rent, An-ning knows that Man-Man is in touch with Pang and doesn't want to accept more favors from her ex. An-ning warns Man-Man again to cut ties with Yan because she believes that a man who can cheat on his wife could also lie to Man-Man. After this, An-ning threatens Yan, who is sitting in his car outside telling him to stay away from Man-Man. At night, Man-Man goes to Yan's apartment to get revenge. However, Yan spots her before she can enter and stops her. Yan tells Man-Man that taking revenge on Su-fei won't benefit either of them. To make Man-Man happy, he agrees to spend the vacation with her in Nanan and promises to leave Su-fei and give her special attention, even though Su-fei already said she wouldn't be joining the vacation. The next day, Su-fei discusses getting a divorce with her attorney, Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang tells her that in this case, the main issues will be property and child custody, and they will need more evidence to make the case successful. The house Su-fei lives in is her ancestral property, so there's no problem with that. But she thinks about gathering evidence. She seeks help from her boss, Mr. Shai, who is a software developer, to track Yan's mobile. A little while later, An-ning brings food for Su-fei, noticing that she didn't have lunch, and thanks her for her help. She also apologizes on behalf of her friend Man-Man for her actions. Su-fei tells her it's not her fault. An-ning feels like she is getting paid more than she should be for her work, but Su-fei tells her that because of this humble attitude, she deserves more. Finally, Su-fei asks An-ning to arrange a meeting with Man-Man for the next day, but not to tell Man-Man that Su-fei wants to meet her, as that might make Man-Man avoid the meeting. That night, Su-fei helps her daughter pack. While doing so, An-ning calls Su-fei and tells her that arranging a meeting with Man-Man is difficult because she has gone to Nanan. The next day, Yan goes to Nanan with Yuran. At the hotel, Yan and Man-Man check in together. When Yuran leaves for a debate competition, Yan calls Man-Man to his room. Just as the doorbell rings, Yan happily goes to open it, expecting Man-Man, but in a twist, Su-fei shows up instead. Su-fei tells Yan that she had a work trip in Nanan and thought she would surprise him with a visit. Yan becomes worried because Man-Man could come to the room at any moment. He tries to be romantic with his wife and distracts her by suggesting they shower together, but Su-fei avoids it because she suspects Yan is hiding something. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and Su-fei quickly opens the door, but it's just a room service waitress delivering wine. Su-fei asks why room service sent 2 glasses if only one person is staying. Yan makes an excuse, saying he checked in with Yuran, so the hotel sent 2 glasses for 2 people. At that moment, Yuran gets an important work call and becomes busy talking. Then, the doorbell rings again, but this time, Yan quickly opens the door and tells Su-fei that someone rang the bell by mistake. Outside, Man-Man is upset that Su-fei ruined her plan again. Later, when Su-fei gets ready to leave for a work meeting, Yan notices some condoms in her purse and asks why she brought them. Su-fei simply replies that she brought them to use and leaves. Yan goes to Man-Man's room to meet her. Man-Man angrily slaps him, but Yan calms her down by promising to make it up to her, and then they become intimate. Later, Yan takes Man-Man to an art show, where she feels very happy. At the show, Yan tells Man-Man that he can openly express his love whenever he is with her, which Man-Man doesn't believe at first. But Yan insists he's being truthful. Meanwhile, Su-fei has been following them and secretly takes pictures of Yan, kissing Man-Man to gather evidence. Then she calls Yan and tells him that parents have been invited to Yuran's debate competition, and since she's busy, Yan must attend. Yan then tries to leave immediately, even though Man-Man doesn't want him to leave so soon. However, Yan ignores her and says he'll make it up to her later, further disappointing Man-Man. When Man-Man is left alone, Su-fei comes to meet her. Man-Man tells Su-fei that she has been in a relationship with Yan for a year. She says it started as just fun, but over time, they developed real feelings for each other. She also says that Yan is only staying with Su-fei out of obligation and that Su-fei should find someone who truly loves her. Su-fei replies that she doesn't believe Man-Man, but she will soon divorce Yan, and Man Man can keep him because he is trash and deserves someone like her. Later, Su-fei goes to the beach and remembers her first honeymoon with Yan at that same spot. Then, she throws away her wedding ring. At that moment, Ning calls Su-fei to check on her. Overwhelmed with emotions, Su-fei starts crying. Ning tells her that Yan is no longer worth it. Su-fei responds that she will leave Yan, but only after knowing the complete truth. Meanwhile, Yan tries to win Man Man back by sending her a locket and a bouquet. He also gives a similar locket to his wife when she attends Yuren's speech contest. After the contest, Su-fei tells Yan that she needs to attend a social function with Mr. Zhan, the chairman of the local chamber of commerce. Although weekends are usually off, Yan becomes suspicious of Su-fei, recalling the hickey on her neck and the condoms in her purse. Yan then follows his wife to a hotel room and knocks on the door after a while. Su-fei answers, and Yan is shocked to see her wearing only a bathrobe while a man's clothes are lying on the bed. He angrily confronts her, but Su-fei reminds him that he had once said she should be forgiven if she ever cheated. Yan replies that no man could tolerate such behavior. He then starts searching for Su-fei's supposed partner in anger. Su-fei stops him, pointing out that he's also cheating on her. Yan claims he has never cheated on Su-fei. As Yan pushes Su-fei aside to check the bathroom, there's a twist. Man Man emerges from inside. With Yan's secret now exposed, Su-fei gives him a choice. He can only be with one of them. If he chooses Man Man, Su-fei will get a divorce. To Man Man's disappointment, Yan chooses Su-fei. Man Man demands that Yan express his true love for her openly, but he refuses because he never wanted a divorce. In anger, Man Man slaps Yan and storms out. Yan then falls to his knees, begging Su-fei for forgiveness. However, Su-fei tells him that since he wasn't willing to forgive her earlier, she won't forgive him now. Meanwhile, Man Man, devastated, returns to her hotel room and breaks down in tears. She flushes down the locket she was gifted by Yan, now that she knows he gave the same one to Su-fei. The next day, Yan wakes up from a nightmare on the hotel sofa. Su-fei, who is nearby, tells him that she only came along to spend time with their daughter. Afterward, the three of them go to a beach to have fun. While taking pictures, Su-fei accidentally drops her phone in the water, so she needs to buy a new one. Yan buys Su-fei a new phone and says she can now track him using GPS, but Su-fei says she no longer needs to. Later, Su-fei finds out that, in her absence, Mr. Ding hurriedly signed a contract with Mr. Shai that could potentially harm her company. Because of this, Su-fei and Yuran have to return home quickly. Yuran is surprised that Yan isn't coming with them, but Yan makes up an excuse to stay behind. Once they return home, Su-fei asks Yuran to pack again because they will be staying somewhere else. This makes Yuran suspicious that her parents are getting a divorce, and she locks herself in her room, upset with Su-fei. Su-fei tries to explain that her father has done something unforgivable, but Yuran doesn't listen and throws a toy bear at Su-fei before running outside, causing Su-fei to suddenly feel a sharp pain in her belly. In the morning, when Yan returns home, he sees the divorce papers lying on the table, but the house is empty. Just then, he gets a call from Su-fei, who tells him that Yuran has run away from home. Yan rushes to Su-fei, and together they try to find Yuran, but she isn't at any friend's house. Yan scolds Su-fei that she shouldn't have burdened young Yuran with the heartbreaking truth of their divorce. Then, Yan gets an idea of where Yuran might be. That night, they arrive at a bridge where Yan and Yuran used to spend time together. Yuran is upset about her parents' divorce and threatens to jump off the bridge. However, Yan tells her that her parents have reconciled, and he gently persuades Yuran to come down safely and takes her back home. After returning home, Yan puts Yuran to bed. He apologizes to Su-fei again, but Su-fei says she has already given Yan many chances before and won't give any more now. She wants Yan to leave the house once Yuran gets a bit more settled, and for now, she decides to sleep separately from him. The next night, Su-fei has to work overtime to deal with issues in her company that arose due to her absence. Meanwhile, at home, Yan takes care of their daughter and looks through old photos of him and Su-fei together. He then receives a message from Man Man, who tells him that she is moving abroad for work and wants to meet him one last time. The next day, Yuran's nanny, Lee, sees Yan meeting with Man Man and takes a picture to send to Su-fei, expressing her suspicion. However, Su-fei lies and says Yan is with her. Meanwhile, Yan goes to meet Man Man one last time. Man Man tries to be romantic with Yan, but he refuses to continue their relationship. Man Man promises not to cause any more problems for Yan because she is moving abroad, but she wants him to always remember her in his heart. Upon returning home, later on, Su-fei discovers that he has made her favorite dishes. Then, Su-fei spends time with her family in a normal way. After dinner, Yan tells Sufei that he took half a day off work to spend time cooking. Sufei asks if he met anyone else, but Yan denies it. Then Sufei says she can't keep embarrassing herself and has decided to give Yan another chance. Their wedding anniversary is in 2 days, so Sufei wants Yan to invite all his colleagues and boss to a party at their house, which makes Yan very happy. After this, on their anniversary day, the house is full of guests. Many of Yan's friends, including his boss, Mr. Yi, come to celebrate. Sufei's boss, Mr. Shi, and An Ning are also there. Mr. Shi gives Sufei a flash drive, which she plugs into the TV. Once everyone is gathered, Yan begins praising his wife in front of everyone and expressing his love for her. But when Yan tries to kiss Sufei, she steps back and turns on the TV, revealing photos of Yan cheating. Sufei humiliates Yan in front of everyone, saying that although their marriage had some wonderful moments, his so-called love has now become nothing but an illusion because he's been cheating with another woman. Enraged by this humiliation, Yan loses control and knocks over the TV. Witnessing everything, Su Luo jumps on Yan and starts hitting him. After everyone leaves the party, Yan confronts Sufei about humiliating him in front of everyone, arguing that he had apologized many times and that his last meeting with Man was to end things with her. However, Sufei no longer trusts Yan and believes he's fooling himself by thinking he still loves his wife. Since Yuren isn't home, Sufei tells Yan to pack his things and leave. After Yan leaves, Sufei's health worsens. Meanwhile, when Yuren returns from school, she finds out that her dad won't be returning home due to another fight and gets angry with her mother again. On the other side, Yan, who is drinking outside, receives a message from his boss about holding him accountable for the losses in his real estate project. In frustration, Yan throws a beer can into a pond. When the park officials come to find him, Yan stubbornly retrieves the can from the water, leaving the official puzzled. The next morning, it's revealed that Sufei's pregnancy test is positive. As Yuren gets ready for school, she tells her mother that Yan is trying to improve himself and should be forgiven. But Sufei replies that a leopard never changes its spots. However, Yuren doesn't understand this and remains upset with her mother. Upset by everything, Sufei removes all of Yan's photos from the house and gets mad when she can't find her ringing phone. Meanwhile, Yan receives a divorce notice at his office and tries calling Sufei, but his call is redirected to her divorce attorney, Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang informs Yan that Sufei has filed a case against him for forging signatures to take money and violating marital rights. After the call, Yan learns that Man is going abroad that day. He leaves his divorce papers in the office and tells his assistant, who is friends with Man and often updates her, to clean up. His plan works because she secretly snoops through his files. Later, she calls Man and tells her everything. That Yan and Sufei are getting a divorce. Yan will owe Sufei 3 million yuan, and he's about to be fired from his company, which will ruin him. Hearing this, Man changes her mind about going abroad and returns home. At home, Mr. Ding is angry and scolds Man for having inappropriate relations with Yan. It turns out Mr. Shi was upset with Mr. Ding over company matters and exposed all of Man's actions, which embarrassed Mr. Ding. However, Man says she didn't come back to continue her relationship with Yan, but to take care of her parents. Mr. Ding, however, realizes that his daughter is lying and gives Man 2 choices. Either she goes abroad, or he will no longer give her any money. In response, Man hands back her father's ATM card and says she doesn't need his money because she already owns an art gallery. Later, Sufei goes to a maternal hospital for a pregnancy checkup. By chance, she runs into An Ning, who asks why she is there. Sufei lies, saying she only has some hormonal issues. However, shortly after, Sufei bumps into someone, causing her files to fall to the ground. While helping her pick them up, An Ning discovers that Sufei is pregnant. Later, Sufei tells An Ning that her already busy life has become even more challenging due to her pregnancy. And Ning reassures her, saying she will support Sufei in every decision. She also shares that when she was expecting Ankang, she felt similarly overwhelmed. But now, seeing Ankang always makes her happy. Meanwhile, Man is sitting in a cafe when she unexpectedly runs into Yan. Seeing Yan's miserable state, she asks what's wrong, and Yan explains everything. He then gives her an ATM card with 300,000 yuan, telling her the password is her birthday. Surprised, Man asks how he has this money since he's broke. Yan reveals he sold his car to get the money. Impressed by his gesture, Man embraces him, touched by his love. However, it's later revealed that Yan had seen Man in the cafe beforehand and planned everything to impress her. Later on, now that Man is reunited with Yan, she offers Yan to move in with her and says she will repay Sufei's 3 million yuan on his behalf. The next day, The court rules in Su Fei's favor and orders Yan to repay the 3 million. However, outside the court, Su Fei unexpectedly meets Man Man. Man Man tries to taunt Su Fei, and Su Fei realizes that Man Man is ready to pay Yan's 3 million. However, Su Fei sees this divorce as her victory and warns Man Man to learn from her experience and stay away from someone like Yan. Yet, Man Man refuses to listen and quickly leaves with Yan in a car. While heading back, Su Fei suddenly feels very ill and is taken to the hospital. She suffers a severe hemorrhage, and the doctors have to perform emergency surgery. Su Luo and An Ning rush to the hospital as soon as they hear the news. After the surgery, An Ning takes care of Su Fei. When Su Fei wakes up, An Ning tells her that she lost the baby, which surprisingly brings Su Fei some relief. A few days later, Su Fei is discharged from the hospital and returns home. That night, Su Fei and An Ning talk. Su Fei reveals that she struggles to sleep at night due to her worries and admits that she still thinks of Yan, saying that he was the first person that came to mind when she woke up in the hospital. When An Ning asks, Su Fei admits she still has some love for Yan and has realized that in a failed marriage, there are no winners. An Ning reassures her that this tough phase will soon pass and everything will be all right. Then, An Ning and Su Fei drink strong wine together. An Ning tells Su Fei that she is now free and should live life on her own terms. To symbolize this freedom, An Ning gives Su Fei a ring with a pigeon symbol on it, which, although inexpensive, holds special meaning. Moments later, the nanny, Li, visits them and shares that her husband, Sun, has been making excuses about working overtime and hasn't come home for several days. Li suspects he's lying because she once felt that her bed had been used in her absence. Li then asks them for help in catching her husband's actions. So, Su Fei, pretending to be a woman named Anna, calls Sun to find out where he is at night. That night, the three women go to confront Sun and catch him red-handed. Su Fei takes pictures as evidence while An Ning stands ready to protect them if a fight breaks out. Sun tells them to stay out of his personal affairs, but Li steps in and scolds him. In a state of anger and intoxication, Sun tries to fight, but An Ning overpowers him. Frightened, Sun decides to leave but threatens to take revenge. Outside, they see the police arresting Sun for driving while being drunk. Li says he got what he deserved. The three women are pleased with their actions and decide to support each other moving forward. Su Fei tells Li that she must stay strong because more challenges lie ahead. She then tells An Ning that she wants her by her side in this fight, not just because she's good at fighting, but because she is loyal and reliable. Later, Mr. Ding finally decides to meet with Yan. During the meeting, Mr. Ding suspects that Yan is only with his daughter for money, so he offers Yan a lot of money to leave Man Man. Hearing this, Yan becomes angry and starts to leave but then stops. He tells Mr. Ding that he genuinely loves his daughter. However, Mr. Ding doesn't trust him and gives Yan a check for 200,000 yuan, saying Yan should keep Man Man happy with this money as long as he can. But one day, she will get fed up with his failures and poverty and leave him. The next day at home, Mr. Ding tells his wife that Man Man will soon learn her lesson and believes Yan will never come to their house, even though he had promised Man Man he would invite Yan over. Contrary to his expectations, Man Man arrives home with Yan. Although Yan shows respect to Mr. Ding and even brings him an expensive watch as a gift, Mr. Ding treats him rudely. He believes Yan does not deserve Man Man. Yan insists that he left his own family for Man Man and truly loves her, but Mr. Ding's attitude remains unchanged. Yan then decides to leave, and seeing this, Man Man becomes very angry at her father's rude behavior and starts arguing with him. Mr. Ding says that Yan is not capable of keeping her happy and that the expensive watch was probably bought with Mr. Ding's own money, using Man Man's card. Unable to tolerate her boyfriend's humiliation any longer, Man Man also decides to leave. Outside, Yan tries to calm Man Man down, telling her that she shouldn't leave because whatever her father is doing is for her happiness. Man Man responds that she is only happy with Yan, and reveals that she sold her art gallery for 3 million yuan so that Yan could repay his debt. Seeing Man Man's generosity makes Yan fall even more in love with her. On the other hand, Su Fei discovers that Sun created a fake account on a blind dating app, presenting himself as unmarried. She shows this to Shui, who advises her to teach him a lesson. Later, Su Fei is sitting in a cafe when Yang, the owner of the dating app Gentleman's Tribe, comes to meet her. Yang accuses Su Fei of hacking his app and trying to defame it by posting negative reviews, threatening to sue her. However, Su Fei states that he has no evidence to prove these claims. She further argues that anyone can falsely present themselves as unmarried on his app, causing problems for others. Yang responds that this issue has been resolved following complaints. He then asks Su Fei for financial compensation or collaboration with the Haidong app to settle the matter, but Su Fei refuses both. At that moment, Yan and Man Man enter the cafe. Yan and Man Man start talking to Su Fei, but Su Fei wants to leave. However, Yang stops her and invites all of them to have a drink together. Then Yan reveals that they were nearby looking at wedding dresses. Yang introduces himself to them. After this, a series of taunts begins. Yan tries to mock Su Fei by suggesting that she is spending time with worthless people like Yang instead of her daughter. But Yang gives a good comeback. Yang says that he likes Su Fei, to which Man Man taunts that maybe Su Fei was running after such men even during her marriage. But Yang pretends that he has liked Su Fei for a long time, yet Su Fei kept rejecting him. He further taunts Man Man, reminding her that she shouldn't forget Su Fei is no longer Yan's wife. In anger, Man Man tries to throw a cup of latte at him, but Yang quickly catches it and thanks her for handing him the latte. Yan then decides to leave and warns Yang that if he isn't afraid of social death, losing the right to see his daughter, and having his reputation ruined, he can become Su Fei's partner. A few days later, when Mr. Ding finds out that instead of returning Man Man's 3 million yuan to his wife, Yan invested it and earned an additional 2 million before returning it, he agrees to meet Yan one more time at a bar. While they are drinking, they have a conversation. Mr. Ding asks Yan how he plans to support Man Man after getting married. Yan explains that he recently gained experience by investing in stocks with some friends, which was quite successful, so he is thinking of expanding this business further. Then Mr. Ding asks Yan if he is only interested in Man Man to take advantage of her wealthy family. However, Yan says that he genuinely loves Man Man and has no interest in their wealth. Finally, Mr. Ding states that he will allow the marriage to happen, but with one condition. The ceremony will take place, but the marriage certificate will not be issued until Mr. Ding has seen more of Yan and has complete trust in him. Yan agrees to this condition, but with a twist, he also puts forward a condition. He says that since Mr. Ding is so concerned about Yan's career, he should give Yan a position in his company, Xinyuan, so that Mr. Ding can keep an eye on him. Mr. Ding has no problem with this condition and agrees. On the way back, in a drunken state, Yan sees Su Fei sitting in a bar, waiting for someone, and decides to confront her. Yan suspects that Su Fei is having affairs with other men and has left her daughter alone. He tells her that if she can't take care of Yuran, she should give custody back to him. However, Su Fei says that Yan should be ashamed for making such demands and mocks him for becoming even more arrogant after making a little money. Yan responds by saying he will get back at Su Fei twice as much for everything. Su Fei then tries to leave, but Yan grabs her hand and starts to harass her. At that moment, An Ning, who was supposed to meet Su Fei, arrives and frees her hand. Yan then starts taunting An Ning, accusing her of breaking up his marriage with her silent schemes. An Ning replies that his marriage ended because of his own mistakes. If he hadn't had affairs with other women, this would never have happened. Yan responds that An Ning, who couldn't even marry Pong, is now out to ruin other people's lives. In response, Su Fei angrily slaps him, and Yan slaps her back. An Ning also gets involved and hits Yan, but then the bar management intervenes and asks them to leave. A few days later one morning, Su Fei wakes up in a dazed state and finds herself in bed with Yang. However, she doesn't remember how she got there and feels embarrassed. To figure out what happened, Su Fei quietly gets up to avoid waking Yang and, after secretly unlocking his phone, searches through it, but finds nothing. Then, when she tries to remember more, a flashback reveals that Su Fei received Man Man's wedding invitation through Yang the day before. Su Fei decides she wants to move on from her past and attends Yan's wedding with An Ning. At the wedding, Yan is angry to see Su Fei there, but Man Man reveals she invited Su Fei just to make her jealous. The wedding ceremony proceeds, and Yan and Man Man exchange rings on stage. Meanwhile, Su Fei feels sad watching this because her own wedding had taken place in the same hall. Man Man also looks at her with a taunting gaze. Later, Yang, who had come to the wedding uninvited to support Su Fei by pretending to be her boyfriend, meets Yan in the bathroom. Yan warns him again that Su Fei is an evil woman and that it's better to stay away from her. However, Yang responds that the same path that leads one person to failure can lead another to success, and advises Yan to focus on his new journey so he doesn't end up failing. Hearing this, Yan angrily dunks Yang's head into the sink water and almost drowns him before warning him not to interfere in others' matters. However, Yang hasn't given up yet, and when Su Fei goes to the toilet, a slightly drunk Yang goes over to create a scene with the newly married couple, who are talking to Mr. Pang. At the wedding, Yang mentions that he can't find Su Fei and accuses Yan of taking her somewhere to flirt with her. He further suggests that now that Yan is newly married, he should stop chasing after his ex, and even speculates that Yan might not have divorced Su Fei yet. Seeing the tension, Mr. Pang decides to leave the scene. Shortly after, Su Fei reappears, and Yang apologizes before leaving. Meanwhile, Mr. Shi and his colleague also arrive uninvited, as they think it's a tough time for Su Fei and want to support her. When Yan sees more people joining Su Fei's group, he is surprised and sarcastically asks how many more people she's going to recruit. Su Fei calmly explains that they are her colleagues who came on their own. When they all go back inside and sit down, Yan and Man approach Su Fei's table and mock her for having so many male companions. Su Fei responds to Man by saying that she used to enjoy playing around with men, but now Su Fei has taken her place in doing so. Hearing this, Mr. Shi and his colleagues step in and tell Yan that since he is now married, he should stop thinking about Su Fei. They also taunt Man, suggesting that she should be upset that her husband still seems preoccupied with thoughts of Su Fei. After the wedding, Yang and Su Fei hang out together and get drunk on beer. During their conversation, Su Fei asks Yang if he plans to marry her. Although it seems clear that Yang likes Su Fei, he denies it. Hearing this, Su Fei breathes a sigh of relief and starts listing his faults, to which Yang responds by pointing out her shortcomings as well. After a while, Su Fei becomes heavily drunk due to stress and is unable to walk properly. Yang tries to take Su Fei home in a taxi, but she's too out of it to give him her address. So, Yang unlocks Su Fei's phone and starts recording on it, as proof that he isn't doing anything inappropriate, and then takes her to a hotel. In the present, Su Fei tries to sneak out quietly, but Yang is already awake and sitting in the dining room, having breakfast. He asks Su Fei to return his phone and assures her there are no inappropriate photos of her on it. Su Fei angrily questions him, asking if he took advantage of her the previous night, but instead of answering, Yang invites her to join him for breakfast and mentions that the meal as well as the hotel booking were paid for with Su Fei's money. Su Fei initially pretends she is about to eat, but then suddenly slams a chair on Yang's hand, warning him not to pull such stunts again, and leaves. Back at the office, Su Fei discovers an email from Yang proposing a collaboration. It turns out Su Fei had given him her email address the previous night while she was intoxicated. Since Su Fei's company is under pressure from Xinyuan to make the Haidong app successful quickly, she realizes the need for this collaboration because Yang's app could help popularize their app more rapidly. So, Su Fei visits Yang's office with a gift in hand and talks to him in a flattering manner. When she sees a bandage on Yang's hand, she pretends to be surprised and pulls out several medicines from her bag, claiming she just came from a pharmacy and has medicines that could help him heal faster. Then, when Yang asks why she really came, Su Fei reveals her true intention: to discuss the collaboration that, according to Yang, would benefit them both. In the beginning, Yang refuses, but later, he says he will only consider the collaboration if his company keeps 70% of the profit and stands firm on this. Su Fei then returns to her office, where she learns that Xinyuan is putting more pressure on them, trying to sabotage Fei Xiang and take over. But Su Fei is determined to prevent this. Later, she meets with Yang again, and after Su Fei pleads with him, Yang agrees to take 60% of the profit. However, in his proposal draft, he includes terms that would give him control over everything. Su Fei counters by saying she will only accept this if the profit is split 50-50. Eventually, Yang agrees to this deal. Meanwhile, Yan gets a job in Xinyuan's investment department and starts working. On the other hand, one night on her way home, Su Fei discovers a video on her phone from the night she spent with Yang. In the video, Yang first takes Su Fei to a hotel in a taxi. At the hotel, he calls a female roomkeeper to help change Su Fei's clothes, explaining that Su Fei had vomited on the way. After that, he records a video of Su Fei sleeping, where she keeps falling off the bed. Watching this, Su Fei feels extremely embarrassed. The next day, Su Fei goes to Yang's office to thank him by bringing him breakfast. When she sees Yang appear to be asleep, she tries to leave quietly. However, Yang is awake and jokes that he doesn't sleep like some people who toss and turn all night. Despite everything, it becomes clear that Yang and Su Fei have grown closer. On the other hand, Mr. Shi completes the coding for the new version of the Haidong app, and it is successfully launched on all app stores in collaboration with their new partners. In the following days, Chairman Pang assigns Yan the task of dealing with the Fei Shang company. Although Yan had previously requested Mr. Ding for this task, Mr. Ding was reluctant to agree due to his concern that Yan might still have feelings for Su Fei. However, Chairman Pang's intentions are different, and he assigns the task to Yan to trouble Su Fei. One day, An Ning, who has recently been promoted to Su Fei's assistant, informs Su Fei that the tough conditions imposed by Xin Yuan are legal under their agreement and difficult to escape. Meanwhile, Yan is waiting for Su Fei in the office. His gaze shifts to Yang in the neighboring building, and he questions Su Fei about whether she had an affair with Yang during their marriage. Instead of giving a clear answer, Su Fei says that if Yan still thinks this way about her, there's nothing she can do to change his mind. However, if that were the case, Su Fei would have been perfect for Yan. Enraged, Yan grabs Su Fei by her throat and demands the truth. Seeing this, Yang immediately rushes to Su Fei's office. Su Fei then tells Yan that if he truly wants to, he can end her life right there to find peace, and the most he would face afterward is going to jail. When Yang arrives, he finds both Su Fei and Yan discussing things calmly. Yang then asks Su Fei if Yan has said anything to her and grabs Yan by the collar, threatening to kill him if he has any intention of harming Su Fei. In response, Yan says that if Yang truly cares about Su Fei, he should ensure Ning doesn't perform at the live promotion of the Haidong app. Otherwise, Xinyuan will take action against them. Following this, one day Mr. Ding receives a summons from Chairman Pang. While discussing, Mr. Ding mentions that he has been feeling quite well lately, to which Pang responds that he should take permanent rest, leaving Mr. Ding surprised. Chairman Pang then shows Mr. Ding some documents. These documents reveal that Xinyuan's company has purchased goods from a new supplier, which Mr. Ding had authorized. Chairman Pang informs Mr. Ding that this company is registered under Man-Man's name and that this action falls under corruption. Chairman Pang says that he always kept Mr. Ding with him, but didn't expect such deception. Mr. Ding is also shocked because he was unaware of this situation and asks Chairman Pang for time to investigate the hidden person behind this. However, Chairman Pang is not willing to listen further and fires Mr. Ding. On the other hand, when Yan returns home at night, Man-Man confronts him and accuses him of plotting to remove Mr. Ding and creating a company in Man-Man's name. Yan becomes furious when his wife supports her father instead of standing by him. When Man-Man tries to slap him, Yang pushes her away. Man-Man then threatens that if she finds out Yan is behind the scheme, she will have him killed. Hearing this, Yan gets even angrier and starts throwing Man-Man's glass crockery, causing Man-Man to get scared and try to escape. However, Yan pulls her back inside. Meanwhile, outside, Yorin is coming to meet her father and witnesses all this, hearing Yan's violent actions against Man-Man from inside. This traumatizes Yorin, who returns to her room in fear and starts crying, as she has always viewed her father as innocent. On the other hand, Yang meets Su Fei and An Ning at a club. There, Yang gives Su Fei a gift and reveals that it is a very expensive property, also proposing to her. Su Fei is thrilled, thinking she is being given a house in a fancy location. However, in a twist, she finds out that Yang has actually given her a spot in a cemetery. Su Fei is surprised by Yang's strange actions and asks why he did this. Yang explains that he has actually bought 2 plots in the cemetery so they can be buried together after they die. In response, Su Fei says that if she is having such a hard time tolerating him in life, she can't bear the thought of being with him after death. However, Yang insists that this is a unique and valuable gift from the heart, and any other girl would be impressed by it. Later, An Ning finds Man-Man drunk in the club's bathroom and notices the signs of abuse. An Ning calls Su Fei to show her what happened. At the same time, Su Fei receives a call from a nanny at home saying that Yuren has locked her room and is not talking. Su Fei realizes that Yan must be involved and returns home with Man-Man. When they reach home, Yuren hugs her mother and starts crying. Su Fei comforts her, assuring her there's nothing to be afraid of, and puts her to sleep. Su Fei then goes to Man-Man. Man-Man tells Su Fei that she must be very happy seeing the consequences of Man-Man's actions. But Su Fei replies that she has thought a lot about this and concluded that Yan, not Man-Man, is responsible for her divorce. Su Fei believes that Yan is a greedy person whose desires are never satisfied, and if Man-Man hadn't been in their lives, Yan's actions would still have been the same. Yan only married Man-Man to serve his own interests, while Man-Man thought it was true love. Su Fei says that true love is like a glass of water. It may seem boring, but everyone needs it. The next morning, Man-Man returns to her home and apologizes to her father for not listening to him. She tells him that she is ready to accept any punishment he sees fit. Mr. Ding also apologizes, admitting that he did not properly raise Man-Man, which made her stubborn and arrogant. Mr. Ding says that he has now learned that to be successful, a person must be honest, kind, and have a good heart. He advises Man-Man that even though it is late, she can still change herself. Later, Man-Man informs Su Fei that Chairman Pang has appointed Yan as the new vice president of his company, replacing Mr. Ding. However, Su Fei tells Man Man that she wants to meet a special member of the Xinyuan Group's board of chairmen through Mr. Ding. On the other hand, Yan and Chairman Peng continue creating more problems for Feixiang Company. As a result, Su Fei decides that to save the company, she should resign, fearing that her personal conflict could ruin all of Mr. Xi's hard work. And Ning also decides to resign along with Su Fei. However, Su Fei has other plans to save the company. Following this, Mr. Xi gets married to an old classmate, and all the employees attend the wedding. Later, Yang, An Ning, and Su Fei relax in a hot tub. Yang tells Su Fei that even though she doesn't want to marry him, he will continue to support her. In response, Su Fei asks him to massage her shoulders, and she rests peacefully. Later, Su Fei meets Wang, who is Chairman Peng's actual wife. Su Fei asks Wang for help in saving Feixiang. It turns out that Wang is the board member of the Xinyuan Group whom Su Fei wanted to meet. Wang has already found out that in her absence, Peng had an affair with An Ning. Su Fei promises Wang that if she helps save Feixiang from Xinyuan's control, she will turn Feixiang's losses into profits. Since Xinyuan is about to be listed, this will significantly boost Feixiang's market value. A few days later, Man Man meets Su Fei again. Man Man tells Su Fei that she could never be like her because Su Fei is still happy even after losing everything. However, Su Fei says that this is a learning phase for Man Man, so that she won't get trapped in such situations again in the future. Man Man then promises Su Fei that she will take responsibility for her own life and ensure that Yan gets punished for his actions. Afterward, Man Man apologizes to Su Fei. She tells Su Fei that it was only after going through a similar experience that she could understand the pain Su Fei had endured. In response, Su Fei says that some experiences are like going to school, and she congratulates Man Man for finally graduating from this school of life. Following this, Man Man goes to the police station and files a case against Yan. On the other hand, Yan has his usual meeting with Yuran. During their meeting, Yuran confronts Yan and says that he has always lied to her. She further tells Yan that her teacher taught her that an honest person can be forgiven, and she makes Yan promise that he will become an honest man if he wants her forgiveness. She also requests that her parents stop hurting each other. Yuran adds that even though Su Fei no longer wants to stay with Yan, she will always be Yan's daughter. On the other hand, Wang makes a dramatic entry at the board of directors meeting just before Xinyuan's listing. She reveals the truth to everyone, which comes to light that Su Fei had informed Wang that if Haidong is purchased now, it would be nothing more than a piece of junk because, without its programmer Mr. Shai and the remaining staff, the app would receive negative reviews. Furthermore, Feixiang was already going into loss, which would not benefit Xinyuan. Following this revelation, the board of directors blames Chairman Peng for all the corruption, and he is expelled from his own company. Meanwhile, Yuran invites Yang over for dinner. During the meal, Yuran asks Yang what would happen if she asked him not to marry her mother. Yang responds that it would be impossible for him to agree to that. Then Yang asks Yuran if Su Fei has been happier since she started meeting him, to which Yuran says yes. Yuran then tells Yang that she will give him a test, and if he passes it, she will praise him in front of her mother and convince her to marry him. The next day, Yan comes to see Yuran during her school hours and becomes emotional. After school, Yuran receives a letter from Yan in which he says he remembers all the happy moments he spent with her. He tells Yuran that he loves her and advises her that if she ever feels angry, she should take it out on him instead of others. In the end, he warns Yuran never to marry someone like him. Yuran becomes worried and gives the letter to her mother. Su Fei realizes that Yan is planning to commit suicide, so she calls him. However, Yan, who is in his car, does not answer the call and starts driving towards a pole, intending to crash. At the very last moment, he stops because he doesn't have the courage to go through with it. He then answers Su Fei's call and starts crying. That night, when Su Fei goes to meet him, Yan says she must be very happy to see him in this state, but Su Fei replies that she never wanted their marriage to end like this. Yan then says he has finally killed the devil in his heart and has realized his mistakes. Su Fei advises him to straighten out his life after serving his punishment. The next day, Yan turns himself into the authorities and confesses all his mistakes in court. As a result, the court sentences him to 5 years in prison and fines him 100,000 yuan. In the end, Yuran separately invites both Su Fei and Yang to meet her at a specific location. When Yang arrives, Yuran tells him that his test is to keep the woman standing before him happy for the rest of her life. Meanwhile, she tells Su Fei that she accepts Yang as her father. Su Fei and Yang come face to face and smile at each other. In the final scenes of the drama, Yang is seen taking care of Yuran and An Kang. Meanwhile, Su Fei and An Ning return to work at their company, but this time, Instead of sitting in the driver's seat, An Ning joins Su Fei in the back seat of the car. On the other hand, Su Fei's brother, Su Luo, finally proposes to An Ning, and the two begin preparing for their wedding.